Morning everyone, happy Friday, welcome to Baycroft TV, end of yet another week and one that I think has been great here on Baycroft TV. One which started off with Mr. Hanlon, but has of course got better and better as the week has gone on, and here we are ready to go into yet another weekend. Hopefully lots of you managed to get photos or videos of clapping from last night sent over. If you have managed to take some but haven't yet managed to send them over, please make sure you do so to the usual email address, because Miss Buckley will thank you very much for it, because she is preparing a very special broadcast for next week. Now, on this day in 1966, a very famous band called the Beatles played their last ever concert in Britain. Now, the Beatles were just about the most successful band in the history of the world ever. In fact, one of them, Paul McCartney, is now worth $1.25 billion. Even the drummer, who was a bit pants, is worth over $300 million. Why did I ever become a teacher? But anyway, the fact is, we're a very small country, and yet we have a very rich history when it comes to pop music. Many of the biggest bands in history came from right here in Britain. Bands who started here but went on to become famous all over the world. I'm going to just mention a couple of those bands. Some of these bands you may not have heard of, but believe me, these were the people that your parents and your grandparents and your carers would have been bopping along to at the local discotheques back in the day. So let's start with the Beatles, of course, back in the 1960s. Then let's head on to the 1980s, where we had Duran Duran and the Wee Papa Girl Rappers taking over the world. Then in the 90s and 2000s, we had Take That and Westlife and probably some others. And then up to the current day, where we have the Little Michaels and One Direction. Now, they're examples of bands that have been massively successful with their music. But of course, I've only mentioned successful bands, when actually music isn't about money or success. It's about the joy of it. There's three things that I would say that I've learned about music. One, very often, simple music is the best. If you look at the Beatles songs, some of their most famous songs are ones that have been very simple and very catchy. Secondly, you don't have to be a musician to make music. I mean, look at me. I'm a teacher, but that hasn't stopped me from blowing up large on the Hillhead grime scene by spitting my bars. And thirdly, music can be made anywhere. One of my favourite singers is Bonnie Prince Billy. What a cool looking bloke, eh? Imagine what he's going to look like after lockdown. But anyway, he makes most of his music sitting on his sofa in his living room, and a very beautiful job he makes of it too. Music is all around us. Wind can be very musical, birdsong, even trains pulling into train stations make a percussive sound. And music fills our hearts with joy. Now, if you don't believe me, I've got a little test that I would like all of you to carry out. Either make up your own catchy song, or go onto YouTube and learn all of the words to Baby Shark and sing it all weekend during lockdown to fill the hearts of your parents and carers with joy. I may be wrong, but I think they'll love it. That's it from me for now. But it's Friday, of course, which means that at the end of today's broadcast, I will be announcing the winner of our outstanding contribution voucher if I've still got a job. So keep watching and I'll see you at the end, okay?
Now we're going to go on to doing our single leg lunges. Now what we're going to use is we're going to use the second step of our staircase, and we're going to do 10 lunges on each leg. How they work goes like this. You're going to put your back leg, might be right, might be left to start off, on the second step. You're going to take a lunge forward, and then you're going to slowly go down so your knee almost touches the floor. When we come up, we're going to try and burst up, and then back down. burst up, back down. That way we're working the power in our leg, and we're also working our glutes and every other muscle. Once you've done 10, you're going to swap over legs. So I'm now going to put my other leg on the back step, and then we're going to go again. Slowly down, up. If you don't feel that you can do the burst up, just come slowly down, slowly up. Slowly down, slowly up. Okay? Always try and keep those legs nice and stable, because you don't want to be falling over while we're doing our workout. Awesome job.
Good morning, Baycroft. If one follows the guidelines and stays safe in our homes or palaces, we are uniting together. We will ensure the safety and protection of others. This is the same as when you are at your learning establishment. Through you being safe, you in turn can protect and help others. After watching all week about unity, have a go at one of these tasks and remember to send them into the normal email address or comment below #shoutout to Queenie. Keep safe one and all.
Well, good morning, Baycroft. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Mr. Bass. I hope you're all fit and well and ready for another episode of On This Day. Today we're going to take a brief look at some famous events in history that happened on May the 1st, and in particular, and in more detail, at the Act of Union 1707, when England, Wales and Scotland became Great Britain. To understand why there was a need for this union between these two countries, we need to look a little bit further back at the history of these two great nations leading up to the signing of the Act in 1707. Until the early 17th century, England and Scotland were independent nations with their own king or queen. And I think it is fair to say that the relations between England and Scotland were never easy, with conflicts and battles being fought throughout the 14th to the 17th century. Another twist in the difficult relationship between England and Scotland was the French, who fought with the Scots in France during the 100 Years' War against the English. The 100 Years' War, which was a long-running dispute about which king or queen should rule France, ran from 1337 to 1453. And I know our Baycroft mathematicians are saying, that's not 100 years. And you're correct. The 100 Years' War is an historical term to cover many different conflicts over the period 1337 to 1453. The French military also came to Scotland in support of their armies against the English invasions. So all in all, England and Scotland's relationship was not really a very happy one. But it started to change in 1603 with the death of Elizabeth I, the Queen of England. Queen Elizabeth I was unmarried and had no children, so her crown was passed to the next available heir, and that was her cousin James, who was already the King of Scotland. So quite by chance, England and Scotland were sharing the same monarch for the first time, and that sharing of the same monarch was known as the Union of the Crowns. We still have two separate countries, England and Scotland, but they are now sharing one king. He was known as King James VI of Scotland and also King James I of England. Slightly confusing. But this was an important event leading up to the Act of Union, because King James wanted to bring England and Scotland together in a union, and he issued a document setting out how this should be done. Unfortunately, the English Parliament didn't agree with King James's proposals. Order! Which was extremely disappointing for him. But this was the first small step towards a union. King James did declare himself the King of Great Britain, even though England and Scotland were still two separate countries. And one of his lasting legacies is the creation of the Union flag, or the Union Jack as we know it. And that's with the combined crosses of England and Scotland. With the death of King James I of England, 6th of Scotland in 1625, there was then less interest in uniting Scotland and England. His successor was his son, King Charles I, who didn't want to carry on the good work of his father and was not interested, really, in uniting England and Scotland. So, throughout the 17th century, there were many civil wars. Scotland marched into England in 1639, 1640, 1643, 1648 and 1651. So they were very busy fighting. And the English, led by Oliver Cromwell, invaded Scotland from 1649 to 1651. Unfortunately for King Charles I, things didn't work out too well for him, and he was executed in 1649 for his part in the Scottish invasions of England. Things then settled down a bit in 1660 when Charles II, King Charles I's son, became the King of Great Britain. And he reigned until his death in 1685, when his cousin King James II of England and the 7th of Scotland succeeded him. Now we have a difference of opinion on which religion should rule the two countries. King James II was a Catholic, and he wanted to have absolute power and rule over England, Wales and Scotland. But this rather created a panic in the English Parliament. And eventually, James was overthrown by William of Orange, a Protestant who became King William III of England, William II of Scotland in 1689. So we get to the union of Scotland, England and Wales, and talks between the English and Scottish parliaments began in 1699. As you can imagine, these talks didn't go smoothly. There were issues and disagreements over things like trade, taxes, religion, and many other things. Finally, after several years of negotiations, the two countries realised they couldn't afford to go on fighting, and there would be far greater benefits to being united. And they agreed to form Great Britain, which would be ruled by one parliament in London. Some sensible work was done to make the change as smooth as possible. For example, weights and measures and currency were standardised, and Scotland kept its own legal system. And it was also allowed to avoid tax on some products, because overall Scotland was a poorer nation than England. And the date was set for the Union, the 1st of May 1707. So, in summary, we've got two countries, England and Scotland, who for many hundreds of years fought over who should be in charge of the two countries. We had a sensible king in James I who wanted to unite England and Scotland, and just over 100 years later, after many more battles and long drawn out negotiations, it all happened and the Act of Union was signed. In recent times, there was a call from Scottish nationalists to have a vote on independence, but a ballot in 2014 didn't succeed. The good news is the disagreements these days are fought in Parliament and not on the battlefields. So, Baycroft, that was a quick tour of the Act of Union on this day in 1707. Of course, I don't expect you to remember the many dates and the kings and queens we have talked about, but I hope you find our history interesting and perhaps will do your own research. Anyway, Baycroft, enjoy the rest of your day and please do stay safe.
Hello Baycroft, today I am so excited because you might have guessed it, we get to talk about Disney. That's right, and the reason we get to talk about Disney because on this date in 1989, Disney opened Disney's MGM Studios at Walt Disney World. It was the third of 4 parks that would end up in the resort, okay? Now when MGM first opened, it was meant to take quite a few years to build, but Disney actually ended up rushing its development because Universal suddenly decided to open their park. So Disney were put under a lot of pressure, okay? So when it opened, Disney decided to keep the animation facility still on site, okay? So MGM had a production studio, it had a filming studio, it had an animation facility. That meant whilst people were walking around the actual theme park, they could watch people doing their jobs. There was a backlot tour, which was a train that took them around all of the buildings, and they actually got to see all of this magic in action. Now, so while the facilities were still there, it actually helped to produce Beauty and the Beast, it produced The Lion King, and it also helped produce Aladdin. And did you know that it actually fully produced on its own in Disney MGM Studios Mulan and Lilo and Stitch? How cool is that? Now today the park is a little bit different, and that's because Disney decided it wanted to move away from the studio theme and make it more Hollywood and more theme park. So they started to get rid of things like the backlot tours, the studios aren't there anymore, some of the older rides like the Tower of Terror, is still there, as is the Rock and Roller Coaster, but now they've introduced things like Star Wars Galaxy Edge, Toy Story Land. They're trying to make it a lot more interesting for people. So that is a brief history of Disney MGM Studios. Now I'm going to set you a few different creative challenges today, and you can pick whichever one you think is the most fun. So the first challenge I'm going to set you is to think, if Baycroft was Disney, who would all the teachers be? Now be nice, okay? Because there is no way that I look like this lady. Okay, I may be scary sometimes, but come on people, I do not look like her. So get thinking, who would the teachers be? What different characters would they be? If you're feeling a bit arty, you might want to take on challenge 2, which is to design a set for Star Wars or a set for any Disney film that captures your interest. Think about what they might need on the set, what colours it might include, what it might look like, a real fun design challenge for you. You may also want to think about designing a costume. If you were a Disney character, what would you want to wear? Okay, think about it from an art's point of view, from a textiles point of view, really get those juices flowing. Now, if you're fancying a bit of drama or dance, then you can have a go at the next task. I would like you to find a piece of Disney parade music and make up your own choreography, your own little parade routine, okay? Or if you're feeling a bit music inclined, you might want to recreate one of the Disney songs and send us a video of you singing that song. You're literally full of ideas when it comes to Disney because it is one of the most creative companies on the entire planet, and it gets me so excited. So please get those brains ticking over, have a think about what your favourite element of Disney is, and remember, no comparing me to her.
Good morning, Baycroft. It's lovely to be with you again this morning. I hope you're all staying well. I'm here again to give you that weekly update for the house system. I have to say a number of you have still continued to make contributions, which we've been really impressed with. So still keep that coming in. There's a number of you that are taking part, and that's actually increased this week. So well done and thank you for that. The work that's coming in, the quality of it is absolutely amazing. So like I say, please keep that coming. So now your update, you will see on the screen the virtual token collector. You will see the tokens going in for this week, and you will see that Blue House have continued to stay in the lead with a massive 74 points. So well done to Blue House. However, it's still all to play for. And you will see in a minute with the points allocations by individual contributions that you can make a significant difference in 1 week for your house. So let's have a think about that with some of the challenges that will be taking place next week to see how you could take part to support your house and increase the amount of points that you are able to collect for your team. I just want to say a massive thank you to certain individuals from each house who have collected the most points for their house. I've been really impressed with how many contributions they've made, but also the quality of work that they've produced as well. And I just wanted to recognise that with those students this morning and to say thank you and well done. So we'll start with Red House. A massive well done to Chantel, who is in 10 JMO. She's managed to collect 18 points so far. In Greenhouse, we have Cameron, who is in 10 MHY, and Cameron has collected 19 points. In Yellow House, we have Eva and Archie, and both of them each have collected 18 points, and they're in 9JB, so well done to both of you. And in Blue House, finally, a massive well done. This is such an achievement. In 1 week, this person was able to collect a massive 18 points by themselves and has made a significant difference to the Blue House lead. So this is Ollie, who is in 7AW, and Ollie has collected 24 points in total. So that is a really, really huge achievement. Well done for taking part in all of those challenges and keep them coming in. So we look forward to next week and more challenges that you will see on the YouTube channel. Make sure that you keep watching, make sure that you keep taking part, and make sure that you keep emailing us through all of your work that you are completing. That's it from me today. Please make sure you continue to look after yourself. Stay safe, stay at home, and take care. Bye from me.
Yesterday's sign was poorly. Today's sign is good. Good.
Hello, welcome back. Hope you've enjoyed today's broadcast. Just left for me to announce the winner of our outstanding contribution, which this week I'm absolutely delighted to say is going to go to Eleanor in 7ST for the fantastic work that she's been sending. So congratulations, Eleanor. If you can ask a parent or carer to send an email to the home learning email address so we know which email address we can send the voucher to. And congratulations and well done to you. Okay. Thank you very much for all of the work that continues to come in. Please don't be deflated. We can only really afford to give out one voucher per week, but please keep sending in the work. We're really loving seeing it. We'll continue to share it, and who knows, it may be your turn to win next week. Thank you very much for watching. Have a fantastic weekend. Don't forget the task that I've set you. In fact, shall we just get started now? Remember, once you start, don't stop until 10 a.m. Monday morning, the next episode of Baycroft TV. Okay? All together now. Ready? Baby shark, do 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 do. Baby shark, do 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 do. Baby shark, do 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 do. Baby.